Okay, so this week's episode, sneak peek of what happens there. There aren't too many action shots, but it's a real turning of the tide moment. Some parts start to go back into the car rather than cutting things out, and I think we end closer to being on the road than we started, which is good. So it's all about welding in panels into that wheelhouse that we're working on there, and that's about it. I think it'll probably be a quick episode, but it's been a very wet week. It's going to be a busy weekend, so that's what you get. To the action. Milk time. As I am hoping to get all of this stuff welded up this week, first thing I need to do is rust neutralize and prime over everywhere I can get to give it the best chance of lasting. You get the point. I've just quickly whipped up the panel to fill this section, which is the one remaining. Not much to see, so I didn't film it, but same old process. And now we have all the panels to fix this area, which is exciting. So it's going to be a case of cutting out some of the material we don't need, covering everything with a bit of primer, and then coming in to weld the new panels in. Let us begin cutting. Crusty piece removed. There's how we're looking now. I've decided to just patch in a small little extra piece here just to replace where this hole is. I've selected the most dangerous offcut that I could find. This is one of the simpler repair panels, even if it was slightly unexpected. So that's just going to go in like that. Tie these two, like the bit I made and the factory bit, together, and hopefully give it a bit more strength. Here's the repair on that inner sill part there, so fairly simple, a roughly normal level of aesthetic quality on the weld, but it's solidly in there. It's not got a hole in it, so it'll work. We are close to putting this thing back together, or this corner. Not forgetting about that. And then having to repeat everything on that side, and having to work on the sill at the front. I don't know if I've ever mentioned that before. And thinking about some of these parts up here, which may or may not need fixing. Oh, that's good. And all sorts of other things. But if I only think about this corner, things are looking great. Also this hole, looking great. So I've been planning out how I think this is going to go in. It's not a perfect fit, which I was expecting. These parts are quite challenging, but I think we'll be able to get it close enough. And I've been debating what to do for the pinch weld, and I think if I try and weld along here I might end up in a bit of a mess. So I'm going to just drill loads of holes, small holes, and plug weld along there. I think that's a reasonable thing to do. And so that's how we look from this end. Let's say it's not perfect, but I think we'll be able to get things close enough that it will be a nice kind of structural fix at least. So now, working to a much higher degree of precision than is necessary at all, I'm going to use a fancy set of calipers and a nice Starrett center punch to mark out holes all along this where I'm going to do the plug welds. This is, far more precise than I'm capable of doing anything. But it's all about having fun. A waste of time, but an enjoyable waste of time that made me feel good. And then drill all of these holes out. There we go, some very precisely positioned holes, which I will now go make a mess of when I weld them onto the car. All primed up and ready to go. Just kind of put in as much primer as I possibly could because I am afraid of rust. I wonder why. everything's neutralized, everything's primed. The rebuild begins then. So all the plug weld holds along here. Don't know how this is going to go. I don't actually know how to plug weld, but you do a hole and you fill out with weld. Easy, right? We'll sort out the top, clamp all of that in when the bottom's done. I think that will be easier. That's the setup. We'll see how we get on. I have now learnt more about plug welding than I previously knew. Unfortunately, this only happened halfway through doing it, so I think I got a lot of these wrong. I probably should have just done one or two and then reevaluated. I was doing way too much on the front, the closer plate with the hole in. I think seems like you're supposed to go through to the back and then sort of bring it forward. I don't know. This is attached on there, but I'm going to grind this off, see which ones didn't go through and join the plates properly, and have a second go at this. So as per usual, we had some good bits and we had some not so good bits, but we'll accept that. So this is, obviously I haven't done the top yet, but that's in place. Now I've just got to figure out something to fix everything together up the top. So I'll come back when I've done that. Time for the big reveal. Yeah. Doesn't look so good, but given that this is completely hidden and invisible when the car's in normal operation, I'm not overly worried. The main thing that's good is that this is very solid. So mission success from that perspective. Same again for this panel. I'm gonna plug weld on this fold and then I'll seam weld around here. Well, my floor mat will never be the same again, but we have another panel in. It was a fairly standard welding experience. You didn't miss much by not seeing it. The plug welds were okay in most places. Seam welding along here was okay, but the most important thing is this thing is solid. So that'll hold. There's no hole in it, there's no rust. We are all good. I'm fairly happy with how it's going so far. This is a very rigid section now and it's all rust free. Next up is welding part of this. So this obviously sits in something like this, and I need to weld this inside part here before I can put on the outer sill, and then when I have the outer sill on I can weld the edges all together. I think a lot of this seems very like quick back and forth. I'm not filming much, but this is probably the episode that I've spent more time actually working on, just because getting all of the welding done, fitting things, clamping them, takes ages. It's just not very interesting to watch. So I'm going to figure out where to drill my holes for my plug welds in this, which I'm hoping will be a slightly better experience because I'm welding into 2 layers of good metal now, so surely even I can't blow a hole in that. Here we go then, all prepped up, ready for the final sprint. I think we're all ready. Whoa. Plug welds complete, and already it's pretty solidly in there. There we go, we're plug welded along there, and I've started to make a mess of the rest. Progress update. So actually going okay. I mean, it's not the best thing in the world, but I'd say it's also not the worst thing in the world. Okay, so it's a few days later. I've come back, done a little bit of grinding around the welds that I did and gone back over it pretty roughly with some primer. Unfortunately, it's been raining a lot, so there is some surface rust creeping in, but I don't think that that'll be a big problem. Longer term, when I have a chance, the plan is to, again, seam seal everything that I've welded, seam seal some of these spots and down here. Hopefully that will hold out. So probably not a very action-packed episode, but this whole area is now, well, like this whole area is completely done. There's still the hole here to fix, which should hopefully not be too difficult, and then the hole up there which I'm just going to plate over the top of. So I feel quite good about this this side of the car. And then we need to restart, go back to square one over here and do roughly the same thing again. You know the drill. In there we have to do the same again, inner sill, outer sill, the brace inside, and then the wheel arch parts. We need to patch that hole up, and we will also need to address the subframe box section on this side. But we're at a point now where everything is kind of within things I've already done. Longer term, after this side is complete and I've done the subframe box section there is still one hole in the inner sill up front to fix, which I haven't actually seen, but given the decent success I've had over there and up here, I think we should be able to fix that. There are other bits as well, and there's obviously the wheel arches, which I haven't decided what I'm going to do on those yet. Whether I want to kind of go all in for a bit of a strip everything off and re-undercoat everything and make it much nicer, or if I want to just reassemble and say, well, let's get it back on track for this year, and then maybe I'll do this another time. Realistically, when I put the subframe back in, I'll probably never want to touch it again, but it is what it is. And then there's also the question of what to do with the subframe. So I'm fairly sure I'm going to strip wire wheel all the paint off it, or the rust off it, and repaint it. But I haven't decided if I'm going to do things like new bushings and freshen it all up like that, whether it's really worth doing that. So I guess tune in next week and we'll see what decisions I come to about everything, if I come to any decisions. I probably won't come to any decisions. I suspect we'll be starting on this area here and redoing the same repairs that we've already done. See you then.